How you doing, Ben?
I don't know if you have to sign or you ready. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter? No, okay. Only for the records.
Okay. Okay, I'll call the 26th meeting of the Madawaska School Committee to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. We'll have a moment of silence. An adjustment to the agenda.
Yeah, we just have one adjustment under new business, and your agenda should have that adjustment on it. Under new business items for information, we're going to add a resignation, and it's a resignation of a temporary sanitation personnel.
You say personnel?
Somebody helping us clean.
Oh, okay, okay.
To speak about any items on the agenda. There's nobody here. And approval of the special meeting on December 30th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll move Tammy.
Have a second? Nick? Any discussion? All those in favor? That was 5-0. The approval of the financial statement, approval of the November financial statement. Do I have a motion to approve? I'll move. Robert, Louis? Do I have a second?
I'll second Tammy.
Discussion on the financial statement.
A couple of questions. Cost center one. I don't know if it's institutional or instructional technology. Is that 84, almost 84% expended so far? Just wondering.
That line is usually the multi, the payment, the lease payment for the technology. Had replenished laptops or laptops, I believe, at the elementary school. So yeah, it was a big one.
Loaded
lump
up,
sum.
loaded up front, it should
Yeah.
even out at the end. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. And then under special education, physical therapy is over 100% expended so far. For two total.
I've got
664.
64% left. You may have the first version.
Oh, you should have had a corrected one in your packet.
Here you go.
That's right. I didn't get a chance to look at that one. Okay.
The first report
That's
that
better.
Lynn had run had included year-to-date balances that included up to today.
Okay.
Really, she reran it up to the end of November so that you have apples to apples.
30% range so far.
Yeah, there haven't been any surprises, but anything that we can slide under the CRF funds or the CARES funds we have, even, as long as they had not been budgeted for and that they're an unplanned expense, we're putting all of the unusual costs there. And then we'll reconcile once we get closer to that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? We have a second. All those in favor? And we'll move the superintendent.
So just a few updates from the department. Now that we hurried up and spent all of our CRF funds before December 30th, we were told last week that there's a relaxed timeline on the CRF expenditures, and now we have until June 30th, 2021 to complete those projects. It really is good news. We had some projects. I'll take the Madawaska Elementary School windows, for example. We just couldn't get them done, before December 31st. So this is going to give us time to stick with a new and get those done in time. So that's been a good saving grace, and we're definitely going to welcome that extension. We also got notification that a new allocation of ESSER funds or CARES Act funds, based on the last stimulus that Congress passed, we should be getting notification at the end of this month what that is. And we were told that we can expect 4 times what our previous ESSER funds were. That's not our CARES money. Our CARES money was our big money. This last, excuse me, our CRF money was our big money that we got in CRF 1 and 2. The ESSER money that we got back in April last year, I think for Madawaska was about 105.
Yes, just under.
Yeah. So we should expect about $400,000 or so if the calculations are correct. And this one has a very relaxed timeline. We actually have until, I believe, September 2023, where we can use those funds. So we're going to take a careful look at what the best use of those funds are, specific to the impact of the coronavirus, and look at the best way to use that. I know that Giselle had shared a news article from some central Maine superintendents were talking about it. They're feeling like the future of education in Maine, with remote learning being now probably a permanent option for some families, looking at using those funds to support remote learning, be that separate teachers or whatever. So those are all things we're going to look at as well to see how we can best use those funds. But we don't have to hurry up and spend. We can use them, based on really informed decision making. So I'll let you know as soon as we figure out what that allocation is and when it comes out. December 28th, the Mills administration put out their health advisory system, the color-coded designation, and for the first time, Aroostook County was given an asterisk, and that basically means they're monitoring us. We're still in green, but it is being closely monitored. This is supposed to be revised again this Thursday, so we'll see if there's any changes to that. And primarily was based on the spike in cases in Aroostook County on a quick, on a short amount of time. So we're hopeful that we always want to be in green, but we're hopeful that the department will guide us wisely in what they designate us. We'll be in a hybrid model next week. So if the state puts us in a hybrid model, we're exactly where we need to be, and then we'll plan accordingly. Other things from our superintendent's meeting last Thursday, vaccinations was a hot topic. Schools wondering, when they're going to get a hold of the vaccine for educators. The good news is school nurses are first in line, so they're trying to get all school nurses in Maine vaccinated now. Our school nurses have all, it's been made available to them by Northern Maine Medical Center, so our nurses should be vaccinated if they opted to get the vaccine. So we're ahead of the curve there. As for teachers and school staff, we met with Dr. Roberts today, and she indicated that from the information she's getting and speaking with the other school physicians, it looks like school staff will start around mid-February if things all go well. And they're not quite sure on how the distribution will look, but we do have a memo here that they are meeting right now, well, not right now, but they're meeting currently to look at a distribution plan, and this is in collaboration with the Maine School Safety Center, the nursing team, the commissioner's office, and they're trying to figure out the best way to do that. Right now, what they're advising schools to do is to survey staff to find out who exactly is going to want it, who's not going to want it, and make sure that you have that priority list so that when the doses do come, we can quickly get them distributed.
And Ben,
279
they're not doing vaccinations for students, correct?
At this time, no.
Yeah, yeah.
8279s are being finalized. The governor released her budget on January 7. Good news for schools based on that, and I shared that link out with you guys. I don't know if you saw it in your email, but the governor is increasing allocations per school. We still don't know, based on our local numbers, how that's going to look for us, but those ED 279 should be coming to us before the end of the month. So again, we'll see what that all means when we get that information. And that's all I have for updates. The next item under superintendent is earned paid leave. I gave you today a document that Lucy pushed out to the employees, another education piece. In my notes to you all, I had shared the earned paid leave law and what that all means. Essentially, the state of Maine now has moved to a law where employees can earn paid leave 1 hour at a rate of 1 hour for every 40 hours worked. We believe that when they created the law, schools were not carefully thought about because most of our employees have bargaining agreements that give them X amount of days, but now with the law, it makes things very, very hard to navigate, especially when you include that our substitute teachers can earn paid leave. So the very people we bring in to cover when our staff are out now can earn time to be out, which is wild. And our athletic coaches can earn paid leave. So it makes things really, really tricky. Our financial system here, we've already converted our employees that are not covered by a bargaining agreement. So your administrators, those type of people, they've already been converted from possibly having vacation leave or personal leave to now earn paid leave. It's apples to apples. So, if you have if you had one personal leave, you now have 8 hours of earned leave time. It's the same thing. It's actually more flexible because you can take it on an hourly basis versus quarter days or half days like our previous system. It's going to be a lot of fun in central office. I don't know, Lucy, if you want to elaborate on the fun that it's going to be.
Actually, the way that we're processing it, we've converted anybody that can be converted to an hourly basis. So we're going to get them to clock in, even your subs. They're going to clock in and be reported on an hourly basis. So I've got the system doing the calculations for those that are not regular employees that just come in as needed. The ones that are here on a regular basis that we can predict relatively close what they're going to need throughout the year, we're going to front load what they are likely to earn. That's what we do with the current leaves that we have now. So our goal is to no one gets less than what they currently have. So if we converted personal days to earned leave, then they have the equivalent. So they shouldn't see too much difference on their end except more flexibility. What that meant though is at the end of the year, we had to determine what are we going to do with the balance, because the unpaid leave law says they have to carry it forward. But if they carry an amount forward, it reduces the amount that they can earn next year because it always caps out at 40. So for that respect, until we get to the negotiations, what we've done right now to comply with the law is if we've converted sick leave or personal leave, then it will revert to sick leave at the end of the year. If we converted vacation leave to earned paid leave, it'll convert to vacation so that next year they can start and earn the full allocation. So nobody goes home with less. So right now, that's how we're proceeding. We're in compliance with the law. The coaches are still an unknown, but I likely will get them to clock in as well. You know, we do what we can.
It's also going to impact how we negotiate with our bargaining agreements moving forward, because if now by law, a teacher can earn up to 40 hours a week. Right now, we only offer 2 personal days, and that's not 40 hours. So at some point, we're gonna have a give and take, and if that give and take is maybe, less sick leave for more earned time leave, we just wanna make sure that, we're navigating that clearly, so that we don't have school year staff that we need in school that now have, 4 or 5 personal days a year. So it'll be interesting as well.
And Ben, have you estimated a financial impact that it's going to have for the school? Just a ballpark additional expense, or?
I don't think it will if we negotiate appropriately, and I think as long as we're we currently offer in Madawaska with 14 sick days a year and 2 personal days, so let's call that 16 days. We've just got to figure out, okay, these earned paid leave days are going to have to come at an exchange for less sick days, and it's going to be a wash after that. So it'll all come down to negotiations.
There will be a little bit of cost for your coaches and your subs
Right.
if they reach, the 40 hours or what have you, but I think that should be minimal.
Is most of the staff that are at the schools now are earning more than this. So this should just be affecting a handful of people, the
That's right.
coaches. I wouldn't have thought of the coaches, but like your substitute teachers, but everybody else should be above that.
Correct.
And it may actually help us with substitute teachers, because right now, if you call in a substitute teacher that has an appointment for the day, she's likely not going to come in to do the substitute teacher for the day. However, with this new earned paid leave, she could come and leave for an hour and then come back and finish the day. So it might give us some flexibility that we didn't have before. It depends on how it's used. But yes, earned paid leave law is not meant to be additional to what we actually offer. If you already offer sufficient and more, you can offer more, you can't offer less. We already offer more than what this is, except for our temporary or as needed employees.
Any questions on that? Next item I have is remote learning, and just an update. And I also want to talk a little bit about our plan for next week to move to hybrid, and then also what that means for winter sports as well. So that's all going to come in this conversation. I do have our building administrators here. I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot, Wayne Lees, but can you just give the board an update on how things are going with remote learning in your schools, Wayne?
Well, right now, obviously we won't have the kids back in the building, but for all intents and purposes, it's working pretty well. The teachers are telling me that the kids are there, their work is getting done. Get a few kids coming in late every once in a while, that's to be expected, but really for the most part, a lot smoother and a lot more efficient than we thought it was going to be. Very few hiccups. We're very pleased where we're at right now. But it'll be nice to get the kids back in the building.
School, it went very well, a lot better than the spring. The kids are engaged, they're coming into their Zoom sessions, no hiccups at all. Everybody, it's going real smooth.
Hi, Wayne, how are the students doing and the teachers doing with the additional airtime and study hall time? You feel like that's going efficiently too, or more efficient maybe in remote sessions than in school?
Well, it's given the staff members an opportunity to reach out for those kids that need that extra remediation, which is what they were doing when they were here in the building. But they're having private Zoom sessions, or they're having Zoom sessions with groups and going to breakout rooms so that they can meet each of those kids' individual needs. So it's good time, it's productive time.
As you know, our plan right now, barring things changing drastically, our plan is to move to hybrid next week. And that's based on advice we're getting from Dr. Roberts. Dr. Roberts actually hosted a Q&A today with the union presidents, and Giselle was there, Lucy, myself, Peter, Karen, and it was a great opportunity to have the union presidents throw out the questions that their members are getting, and have Dr. Roberts elaborate on why the recommendations are what they are. And at the heart and soul of it, as Dr. Roberts shared, the data just speaks volumes to how safe schools are when following the protocols that we have in place, how nationally schools have proven to not be super spreaders. And she had data to back that up as well on how, what the cases are nationally compared to what they are in schools. She did share that in Maine alone, there have been, I think she said 29,000 plus cases to date. And in schools, it's south of 700. So you can see the comparison where you would think that large groups of quantities of people in one area would, really add to a situation where things could go bad. Schools have just, because of all the protocols, that they've just not, that's just not happening. So she's advocating based on the mental well-being of our students, the food insecurity of our students, the physical and emotional abuse that some students encounter. We need to get kids back in school sooner than later, and we need to look at future remote learning determinations based on what's happening in your school. Case in point, what happened in Madawaska Elementary prior to the Christmas break, that was a perfect reason to go into remote because we had 59 close contacts of a positive individual. That made sense. You look at all of the positive cases since then, we haven't been in school, so none of those have made their way into schools. So to just continue staying in a remote model because we have some positivity in the community, it's not the recommendation Dr. Roberts is giving us, and we appreciate that she recognizes the fact that school is an essential part of everyone's lives, including the parents, and we need to get the kids back as soon as possible. So 2 weeks of hybrid, as you know, every other day, schooling for kids in cohorts. And then our goal, our hope is that by February 1st, we can have all of our kids back if things are going well. What I've shared with Lynn Wetmore and Wayne moving into next week is we would like to have winter sports resume next week so that our teams can get prepared for competition. And as long as we're in our self-imposed yellow, we can do that. If, however, the state of Maine puts Aroostook County in a yellow model, all of Aroostook County schools would have to stop and sports would not resume. And we've already shared with you, the protocols around winter sports, masking at all times and no fans and that type of thing. But we really feel that it's time to get these kids back to some normalcy. I'm glad we went to remote learning 2 weeks after Christmas. I think it was a good move based on what was happening around the community, but it's now time. It's time to get the kids back in school. So that's our plan right now, and I hope that we can stick to our plan. Any questions with that?
Do you get much pushback from families to stay in remote, Ben, or is everybody right along with you?
I think staff have the bigger concern, Robert, because we still offer remote learning for families. They can still choose that option. Whereas staff, it's not so much of an option. We need our staff in the building to take care of the kids, so that's the challenge.
Okay.
And not all staff, some staff want to be in school and they want the kids there, and I think the majority do, but you can see that, it is concerning because whenever you don't have all the answers, That's a source of anxiety.
COVID brings emotions too, so.
Administrator report?
Yep, you have reports. You should have one from Stacy, Paul, and then Giselle got some assistance from Paul and Bridget with the technology report. And I don't know if you guys had any questions for them. Put them on the spot.
Did you do any of the windows at the elementary school, Ben?
We have not started yet. I think
Okay,
we're-
They're gonna start whenever they get the
Yeah,
windows in.
once they start trickling in, they haven't started trickling in yet.
Yeah. We don't have the product yet.
Okay. I think you might have said that, but I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Any comments, questions for administrators? And committee reports.
I think we just have, negotiations committee needs to be prepared for upcoming negotiations. I don't know if you've had.
I have a contract for, you have one in front of you, Mindy, and I have yours, Robert.
Okay.
I can drop it off in your mailbox here in Madawaska if you want.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. It's just that you can familiarize yourself with this. The ESP, the support personnel, has split from the teacher group. This is their own contract. They've always had their own. So we'll be with just them. I would like to set up a date where I could meet with both of you. It wouldn't have to be too long. It would be just to answer any questions you might have. And then I would go through some of the issues that we want to address in the contract, just to prepare, and then go through with you how we go about negotiating. So I don't know, your availability, Robert, during the week is probably limited, I think.
Well, what time frame? What time frame and how long of a meeting would you anticipate?
Could be about 30 minutes. I think we could get. I would like to try to prepare a proposal after I've met with you, to try to prepare an official proposal to meet for the first time with the ESP.
Okay.
And typically we just exchange proposals. But we have to determine our roles, the three of us, in negotiations, and discuss that before we actually meet with the employees.
Okay.
So I don't know, I mean, if you guys want to give me dates, Robert, especially if you're traveling quite a bit, so.
Yeah, I mean, we could do it remotely like this, but we can work that out after this meeting. I'll send you and Mindy an email this evening.
Yeah, we can do it remote, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Is that it?
That's it, thank you.
Items of old business, the Valley Unified Education Service Center.
And this is just a rolling agenda item. I know that we've tabled our January VUSC board meeting, and we'll meet on February 1st. I had reached out to the Valley Unified board members when we canceled the January meeting saying, I'm not quite sure what to add for agenda items, and I'm still at that same place. I am not quite sure. We will be having some discussions a little bit later that's related to this under planning for the future. So maybe that, more will come out at that time. But I just, do you have any idea what definitely should be discussed during that Valley Unified meeting? And if so, I'm all ears. I was thinking about one topic, what now?
I think
Have you heard back from the commissioner's office at all on the letters sent from each district?
I have not heard anything yet. I do know there is a state board of education meeting, I believe, on Wednesday, and perhaps that's what they're waiting for, is that state board meeting. And I don't want to be pushy, so I haven't even asked. I haven't asked for anything, so I'm just waiting.
The January 4 meeting, last Monday's meeting was rescheduled till the 1st.
Yeah.
Of February.
Yeah.
And even that, I mean, if we have no news, what are we gonna, we're gonna be there to discuss what?
Well, that's just, well, we have to build a budget, and these are actually supposed to be budget workshops, because our interlocal agreement does say that a budget must be established by March 15th, and that's so that we can prepare the other budgets. There is an extension period that says, you know, if it's not accepted by March 15th, it could be March 30th, but I'm sure Lucy will tell you March 15th would be much better sooner than later. So at least budgeting we need to discuss. But even that, what are we gonna be budgeting for? Because I don't know what the share, and this will come up in our conversation in a little bit. So perhaps we just wait for that, that item, because it'll be clear on what I'm asking when we get to that item C.
Okay. So we'll move to new business, retirements.
I have a letter from Mr. Tom Gerard, and I just like to read a portion of it because it does mention you all. I would like to not only thank the current school committee and administration for their trust and support, but also the past school committee that many years ago provided me with a unique opportunity. Working in the Madawaska school system has allowed me to interact with many wonderful teachers, staff, and administrators, as well as thousands of students I have taught, coached, and helped over the years. It is my belief that I have lived up to the expectations and requirements of this profession, and will continue to cherish the memories of the many school days and non-school days as a teacher. I would need a motion to recommend, not to recommend, to accept the retirement plans of Tom Gerard, which is at the end of the school year.
Louis, motion and a second. Nick? Any discussions? All those in favor?
He's a quality guy, Tammy. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And if it's okay with the school committee, I would like to give Mr. Anderson permission to start the search process early. It would be wonderful to get somebody in line before Mr. Gerard is done, just because he's got so much equipment that he's got from grants that somebody coming in new is just going to be overwhelmed. And I think if they could spend a little time with him at the end of this school year, that would be really a benefit. So if we can give, I don't think we need a motion for that. Mr. Anderson's hearing it here, so I think he can move forward.
I think Mr. Gerard teaches health also, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So we need a dual
Certified.
Yeah, Mr. Gerard did mention to me, though, that the way that they arranged the schedule this year, it will allow some flexibility next year, so that the class that he usually teaches health to will have already had health.
Right.
Correct, so that gives somebody, if we hire somebody without a health endorsement, we have a year to work with them towards that endorsement, because of the way the schedule was arranged this year.
And retirement of the fourth grade teacher?
Yep, Madawaska School Committee, I'm submitting this letter to let you know that my intent is to retire at the end of the school year. I truly enjoyed working for the Madawaska School Department. I will surely miss it. Thank you for so much support I have received all these years. Sincerely yours, Zian Deg.
Do I have a motion? Louis, second. Nick? All those in favor?
And likewise, I'm sure Lise would like to start looking for teachers. Teachers are going to be hard to come by for a while, so the sooner we can post things and snatch whatever, graduates coming up or whatever, I think the better off we are. So I think we should give Lise the green light to post as well. Thank
And
you.
again, we're losing quality teacher.
We are,
We hate to see those people leave,
we do.
so we wish them the best. And the adjustment then?
Yep, so we do have a resignation to whom it may concern, effective January 8, 2021. I will be leaving the Madawaska School Department to take another position elsewhere. Thank you for allowing me to help out in different areas of the school. Mrs. Elizabeth Bollier. Elizabeth was brought in as with our COVID funds to help sanitize. You saw Elizabeth in the school. She was always wiping down surfaces and whatnot. So Elizabeth has found something else.
So I need a motion to accept Elizabeth's resignation. Mindy? And do I have a second? the week? All those in favor? Thank you, Elizabeth.
Are you filling that temporary position, Ben?
I was just about to ask Paul Chassie that question.
We go back full on, I would like something.
Yeah, Paul is indicating that if we're bringing the full student body in, it would be a position that he'd like to fill. It's a temporary position, but, you know, it's essential we do have the students in, so. You guys okay with that?
Yep.
Okay.
No transfers?
Nope.
No new hires?
Nope.
Current openings, we just went through.
Yep.
Were there additional ones?
I don't believe we have any additional openings.
Valley Unified School Calendar.
You do have a copy of the school calendar. You also should have a copy of a survey that was sent out to the teaching staff. The calendar reflects what the majority of staff wanted in question 1 of the survey, which is a later start in August versus a later end in June. It also reflects what the majority wanted in number 2 for 2 days back-to-back of workshop to start the school year. It also reflects what the majority wanted in 3 to have the last day before Christmas break to be on Wednesday, December 22. It also provides what the majority want in question 4 for an early release every month if we're back to normal. Number 5, what was kind of uncertain because I think the question was skewed by those who it does not impact. So I sent a separate question only to the Madawaska elementary teachers, specific to what they prefer for harvest break. And the majority of Madawaska elementary teachers do not support a harvest break. So they would prefer to not have that. And this calendar does reflect that. And then and that's lumped together with question 6. And then question 7, it also provides what the majority wanted for parent-teacher conferences to never have a school day the day after a parent-teacher conference. So the one in November has the Veterans Day holiday right after it. And then the March one has a workshop day after. And then there were some individual comments. So this calendar does reflect what the majority of teachers wanted. Bonnie gave me some feedback as well as president of the teachers union, and she said it was pretty loud and clear from the staff that attended that harvest break was the one thing they didn't want. So what you see here is you have 2 groups. Your group 1 includes Fort Kent Elementary School, Madawaska Middle High School, Wisdom, and Community High School, Valley Rivers Middle School. They would be starting school at the end of August, and they would get the harvest break. Madawaska Elementary and Dr. Levac Elementary have opted to not have a harvest break, so they would be starting 2 weeks after and rolling through harvest break. So that's the calendar draft I have for you.
Have the other 2 schools already voted on this, Ben?
Very first.
What's that? I'm sorry.
You're the first. It's very, very similar to this year's calendar. Not really a whole lot of difference.
So do you have a motion to accept the school calendar?
I'll move, Tammy.
Robert, thank you. A second? Any discussion?
This calendar for this coming year would be like 2021, No elementary school, high school, harvest break.
Correct.
Same thing.
Yep.
Anyone else? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Those abstaining?
Yep.
Or opposed? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Abstain.
And Madawaska School Department planning discussion.
So I did say we should start having discussions around planning whenever we meet. I gave you a document. This was not shared with you in advance because we just finalized it today. But it gives us some things to talk about. I've also created an identical, not identical, but a copy for each of the other two districts with the same information, so that we're all having the same conversations. So planning for the future, and Robert, I will share my screen with a copy of that for you. Just give me a second.
Could you email it to me, Ben?
Do that.
I'll give you my work email. Just let me know when you're ready.
Let me just export it here. Yeah, Robert.
Yeah.
We are recording live on YouTube. Maybe you can send me an email and I'll shoot it right back to you so that we're not sharing your work email address live.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, so on this document, we're outlining what we currently have in play. We are part of a 10-year strategic plan with MSAD 33 and 27. And the purpose of strategic planning is for exactly what we have in place. It's to give us a goal moving forward so that we always know that we have an unwavering target. I believe we are in year 3 or 4. There's a right behind you, Nick, is a copy of that. What was the first year?
2017.
Okay, so we're in year 3, going into year 4 of our strat plan. And it's specific to 8 priorities. I can tell you, up till recently, we were on track to meet all 8 priorities. In fact, we've already met priority number 3, priority number 4, priority number 5, priority number 6. I mean, we're already well on target and doing really well with that. And I say that with a lot of pride because I think a lot of strat plans really truly, after they're developed, they just get shelved. And you feel good because you have a strat plan and it's something you can reference to if somebody ever asks you. We have one that's been in motion. So we're currently in that right now. We're also currently in the Valley Unified Education Service Center. And right now we have the following shared services under that umbrella: superintendent services, assistant superintendent, finance director, innovation programs and community outreach coordinator services. That's Peter Karen's role. Curriculum coordinator services, which Sharon provides us, shared central office services, food service director services. We have a health instructor service at the 8th grade program at the tech center, and that's where you are all allowing Jenny Bechard to provide that service. We also have career instructor services. We have an instructor at Fort Kent Community High School that provides that as well for our 8th grade program. We have aligned our Power School. So our Power School is our student information service. When I log into Power School as the superintendent, I can toggle between all the schools in Valley Unified. We're all under that one umbrella. That took a while to get that in play. We also have a shared Empower. Empower is our student learning management service. So that's all merged as well. Our financial service, Tyler Technology, and our employee self-service is aligned and merged under that. We have a unified time clock plus was purchased with grant monies as well. We have a unified curriculum. Pre-K to grade 12 curriculum is exactly the same in throughout the schools in Valley Unified. So if you have a student transferring from Madawaska to Wisdom or Wisdom to Fort Kent Community High School, it's the same curriculum, it's the same standards. We have a unified professional development, safety training plans put in place, and of course we've done a lot of collaborative grant writing. So those are the things that are currently shared under Valley Unified. We also have our Valley Unified vision goals that we created last year with our leadership teams. One of them is a focus on data. It's a data focus to support student achievement. We ask that all of our schools implement the following teams: student support teams, star data teams, attendance teams, and positive school environment teams. And we have a focus on culture and climate, and that's to look at all those things inside of our schools that are unintentionally disinviting, focusing specifically on the 5 Ps, which are people, policies, processes, programs, and places. And then we have our 2 learning transform keys that we work with our staff to help us get closer to learning transformed. And this was part of the work when Tom Murray came here to work with us. We identified out of his 10 keys which 2 are priorities. One of them was leadership and school culture, lay the foundation. And the other one was professional learning must be relevant and engaging. So we've been busy, we've been active, we've been focused on data, we're focused on community. I think we've had a really targeted approach to how to get our schools to improve and how to work together in that effort. But I think planning ahead, the future about all of these things will be based on what we decide as an independent school department, Madawaska, but also how we decide moving forward with our partnerships. So I'm presenting 3 options. And these are not the only options, but I think, in speaking with Giselle and Lucy and Peter, they seem like the most obvious options of how we need to decide how we're going to be proceeding. And option 1, are we going to continue with everything I just outlined, continue with these strategic priorities, continue with our shared services, continue with our vision goals, and then if there are discussions about partners that don't want to do that, we have to have discussions with them about that and make decisions about whether or not we want those partners part of our plan moving forward. That's option 1. Or perhaps in option 2, we feel like now we need to modify some of these things. We need to modify our strategic priorities based on things that have changed, or we need to change our shared services because of the changes, and maybe even the vision goals. And we do that based on what's most important for Madawaska. What does Madawaska, what are your needs? And how do we plan accordingly for that? Or in option 3, do we just abandon everything, urge our partners to abandon everything too, and then create our own plans specific to the Madawaska School Department with our own strategic planning and our own goals moving forward? I don't expect you to have the answers to this tonight, but I think if we're going to have realistic conversations about how do we move forward, these are the things that are gonna have to be ironed out, starting with, Valley Unified and strategic plans. 'Cause the only way we can guide this school district is to use what we have in play, and these are the things we have in play right now. I don't know how to stray from that until you tell me that, okay, we need to go in a different direction. I know that's a lot of heavy, but that's kind of where we're at. And then that leads us back to our conversations for February 1 in Valley Unified. I'm thinking these conversations need to happen at that time with all the players involved so that we know how to build a budget. What are we building a budget for? What are we sharing and what are we not sharing anymore? And who's part of this and who's not?
Do we have, so a lot of these priorities, let's say, or things that we've put into play, do we know what the results are? So a lot of what we're going through now was because of financial purposes, to consolidate, to bring our costs down. Where is that at? How are we doing? What was our goal? And where are we at? Have we attained the goal of that financial, whatever it was, I mean, for whichever part of it, because there's multiple parts. I mean, where are we at? We need to know if we're gonna be deciding, what direction we're going on. Where were we? Where are we? And where do we wanna go?
Yeah, so it was a two-tiered approach, right? It was efficiencies, but it was also opportunities. It was both. And I'll let Giselle, tell her point of view as being the sole district administrator at the time for Madawaska. You were paying 100% of Giselle's salary benefits at that time, but you didn't have an assistant, you didn't have a finance director. So Giselle was your superintendent, assistant superintendent, finance director, she was. Now, you share the cost, you share my cost, you share Lucy's cost, but in that you get the benefit of having people focus on specific work. Financially, you haven't saved, but you're not worse than where you were. What you gained is opportunities, and by the shared services, that has allowed the district to run more efficiently, I think.
I agree 100%. When we wrote the grant, it was a 10-year efficiency plan with savings through attrition. We've already had a couple of positions valley-wide through attrition, and we have a plan, well, we've kind of predicted when others would occur. So those efficiencies, although we haven't reached all of them now, are to come if we stick with the plan. For example, and this was all on if we had a school, right? At one point, central office is going to be together, and you can again decrease through attrition. My position, for example, eventually was going to disappear. Peter Karen's position eventually would disappear when we have a school. Coming back to Ben's point about how it was before we were sharing services, it's a lot smoother now. Granted, the first year was very difficult, and to some extent it still is. We have 3 satellites, so we rotate, and so that's not always easy. But is it more efficient to have one system? Absolutely. We have a curriculum coordinator, which we had not had in years. And there is no way that Giselle, as the sole administrator, could do curriculum and assessment and busing and lunch, and there was just no way. So we have gained a lot in Madawaska, and I think our other districts have too. We gained a lot in grant writing. We do share a lot of those functions. So I think yes to both of your questions. Is it better? Yes. Efficient? Yes. Are we offering more to our students? I believe we are just beginning with that, but yes.
And besides the administrative, like the 4 of you, excuse me, the 3 of you, because I know that we're doing the, like the food service and all of that. Are there, Are there savings there? Are we able to say, okay, look, we're saving this much money because we've consolidated, we've got more economies of scale?
I don't know.
That's one
Yeah,
example, I mean, there might be
yeah.
other departments.
I
too,
think that it's gonna be difficult to determine that with food service, only because we fell into COVID in our very first year. Again, I think there is some efficiencies, we're doing one, menu, we're doing, the same person orders. If we run out of something, we share it with someone, we replace it. So there are small efficiencies that we may not see. We may have, 2 people absent in Madawaska one day and we're 1 short. Can we borrow a half-time person somewhere else? It can be done. So I think it's more efficient in those terms.
It's definitely more efficient with the programs that we've merged. Your cost to power school is much less now because it's under Valley Unified. Your cost to empower is less now. Tower Technologies was not something you had before, but I think it's the efficiencies gained by it will have saved you money in the long haul because we're not exchanging paper anymore and we're not manually doing things. The same thing with Time Clock Plus. The shared PD, is big savings there as well because we do everything in-house now rather than sending folks all over the place. So definitely.
The funding that we receive from the department for being an education service center helps with the superintendent's salary. It helps with the financial system and the power school. They contribute the system. The department reimbursed us for the financial system and the time clock system because we were creating an efficiency. And now they cover, as part of their contribution to the ESC, they cover the annual cost of the financial and
And that
Which
goes
is
forward.
right.
It keeps going forward or.
until we hear otherwise.
Okay, for the time being.
For the time being, it's hard to know what they'll cover, but
If the opportunity were to surface that we can get into one building, I think there are some very huge efficiencies that will be gained. Just by continuing to decrease the administrative structure, for example. So I can't fathom how some citizens in whatever community are proclaiming that a new school will be more expensive when you shut down 3 schools that are low efficiency, 2 huge, et cetera, and then you look at the staffing as you shrink, you're in one building, offering a lot more flexibility with staffing too. So, the plan, I believe, was very solid.
Thank you.
But if we choose, the plan can continue just without new school, is that correct? Or do we have a does one of our members want to pull out totally? Do we know that or?
I don't know that, and we'll have the same conversation with the other 2 boards as well. I think your one priority, if you look at that strategic plan, which was high school regionalization, is probably one priority that we can't deliver on. However, there is a plan in place to use our 3 high schools in a way where we can, for the lack of a better term, digitally regionalize them so that it would be possible if an elective is not offered at school A, a student at school A can tune in remotely, to the other school so that there's more opportunities that way. We think we can do that, and well, we know we can do that with what we've done with remote learning. We know we have the technology and we have the staff ability to do that now. So it could open new doors that way. And maybe the future is, out of our 3 high schools, we have high schools that offer specific pathways that another high school doesn't, and we'll be able to have students accessing pathways of that other high school, where right now, the smaller we get, we're only offering bare bones courses compared to, when we all went to school. So.
There are difficulties with expanding the CTE program if we remain as 3 satellites. That may be difficult unless we start offering regular curriculum at CTE so that we can build that program, but those may be difficulties ahead.
So again, I don't think we're here to choose an option here today, but I think it should be something that we keep in mind. And I feel that's probably the place to start with our conversations with Valley Unified on February 1st with similar options and say, okay, who's here to play and who's not. I don't know what the feeling is of Madawaska. I mean, I would assume that based on the conversations we just had here tonight, you see the benefit of the regional things that we've done. And my hope would be that you're inclined to continue with as much of that as you can. Just knowing that depending on if another entity does attempt to withdraw, then we probably have to retool and say, okay, what is no longer efficient for us to continue to offer, and what is.
You made a note about, maybe possibly forming subcommittees and trying to maybe even help choose one of these 3 options. If it's one of these 3 options, if these are the only 3 options that we want to continue to stay with, what kind of players would you foresee us being on the subcommittee? When we made the strategic plans, 5-10 years ago, you had, community representatives, maybe teachers, administrators. Would you see the same kind of diverse subcommittee to help lay out this option 1, 2, or 3? Or would you still keep it just at a board level and the VU level?
I think definitely, Robert, if we move to option 3, where we're totally retooling, we'd have to figure out what the pulse is of the community. We'd have to engage, the various stakeholders and find out, okay, now that we know that this is no longer our plan, what is our plan? And we definitely have to do that. I think option 2 is somewhere in the middle. If we're gonna rework things, we're gonna have to figure out exactly who we're representing in doing that. So it all depends on which option is chosen. Yes.
Any other questions, comments?
Are you guys okay with me taking this approach to Valley Unified on February 1st? Do you feel that that's the appropriate approach that we have to take?
I think this is the approach. Yeah, this is perfect. This is what it has been.
It's hard to know what it is when we don't know what the other
Right.
school boards are thinking. I mean,
And we can't plan if we don't have partners to plan with. So, it impedes our planning process.
This is your agenda for your VU meeting. I mean, it's
Good, done.
But again, do we need to know going into that VU meeting what our board is feeling? Or are we just going to kind of rehear this all over again? I mean, should we be going there on the board? Or again, is it just going to delay everything? Well, let's go back to our boards to see what they're feeling like.
I think partially that's still going to happen, but by then hopefully we will be together with the other 2 boards. Plus we'll know something from the commissioner's office as well. So I think we'll know more information. But yeah, I think regardless of whatever we talk about on February 1st, we'll still need to come back to our board, Tammy.
So can I ask a question? So let's assume the high school is a no-go. Valley Unified, high school we're not offered any opportunity to salvage that. Is it this school committee's desire to continue with the strategic priorities we have in place and the shared services under Valley Unified if the other 2 school districts also share the similar interests? everybody says, okay, we recognize we're not gonna have a school, but we have our schools and we have shared services that we'd like to continue with. Are you guys apt to say, yes, we still, those shared services? Or is
Yeah.
it,
I think we still need to hear that, what that looks like. You know, we still need to hear it out, Ben.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So like, last time we met, Giselle had mentioned that, you know, in the future, there'll potentially be some other grants for other, you know, other opportunities. So what if the next opportunity would be for us and Wisdom to join together? Then at that point, we would revisit this and like, you know what I mean?
yeah, you're in control of you have an interlocal agreement under Valley Unified that's not easy to break. In fact, if you would have a party that wanted to withdraw, it would have to be the other parties that allow them to, or approve of them withdrawing. If you don't want them to withdraw, you don't have to agree to that, and they can't withdraw. I don't know how healthy that is, you know, but that's part of it. So, yeah, it all depends on who's involved at the time and who's not.
Okay.
Excuse me, is there, again, because we don't know what the future holds, none of us has a crystal ball, but I mean, is there a way, we know what it's gonna cost us now, I think at least, we know what it's gonna cost us now if we keep moving down the Valley Unified way. We should have an idea what that'll cost Madawaska. If we don't go down that road, and it might be determined by us, that could be determined by one of the other two partners. They say, no, we're not wanting to move forward, depending on the vote that you just talked about. But regardless, what would the other options allow us to do and what would they cost us? Is there any way that we could get a ballpark of that?
I think we have to reassess the cost share with who's left, and then,
Yeah, because at that point, if we're not a 3-member Valley Unified, if it's a 2-member, or if we're on our own, well, now we need to be thinking about a superintendent. We need to, is that a full-time superintendent? Is it a part-time? You know, all of those things. We kind of need to know, we will need to know at some point, when is, you know, I wouldn't want to try to get those dollar amounts now because we don't know, we don't want to waste time. But as soon as we know what our options are, we're going to need to know what the dollars involved will be.
Yeah.
Then we can make a decision. We really can't make a decision until we know that. You know, because the cost per student might be, you know, $1,000, $2,000 more one way than the other.
without a doubt, if you only have 2 players, you will not be able to afford all the shared services you have right now. That's without a doubt.
Right.
So you would have to reevaluate at that time.
Is, with one member pulling out, say it would happen that we allow for one member to pull out, all the supplements or the kickback from the state, like for our superintendent and for our software and for those cease?
It depends if you're still an ESC, you have to meet the criteria for becoming an ESC, for remaining an ESC.
2 members can still form an
You can
ESC.
still,
They can
but it
still-
depends on shared services that you have and whether or not you have a shared superintendent, and
Okay, so we could still get some,
you possibly could, you'd have to meet the criteria.
okay, thank you. Anybody else? Are we ready to move?
Yep.
I will need a motion to enter into executive session for the annual evaluation of the superintendent pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A. Do I have a motion? Mindy, second. Louis? All those in favor? 6:05.
609.
6:09.